Artist Pio Abad's Memorials Against Historical Revisionism. San Francisco, London-based Filipino artist Pio Abad was born in the Philippines in 1983. It was the same year that the body of Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr., a key political rival and vocal critic of the strongman Ferdinand Marcos, was sprawled in a pool of blood from the bullet to his head on the tarmac of the Manila International Airport, shortly upon arriving from the 3-year self-imposed exile in the United States. This incident sparked a revolution that eventually put an end to the 20-year conjugal dictatorship of Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos that culminated in their exile to Honolulu, Hawaii in 1986. A culmination of his residency at KADIST in San Francisco. The exhibition examines these histories of erasure, histories of empire, through this intertwined American and Filipino history, particularly that intertwining during the 70s and single quote 80 seconds. This is now a part of what has been a 7-year-long project that attempts to take into account or understand the cultural legacy of Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos, said Abad. He said further, that serves as a foundation of my work because I was born in the tail end of the dictatorship, but, also, my parents were very politically involved in the anti-dictatorship struggle. They spent some time in incarceration and they were also involved in rebuilding democracy after the dictatorship fell. And now the work that they have devoted their lives to seem to be back in tatters with the current political context in the Philippines. Born and raised in Manila, Pio is the son of lawyer and politician Florencio Abad and the late politician Henedina Razon-Abad. After studying art at the University of the Philippines, he went to Glasgow, Scotland, where he received a BA from the Glasgow School of Art and an MA from the Royal Academy Schools in London. His aunt, internationally acclaimed visual artist Pacita Abad, had encouraged him to do so. If you want to do this seriously, you need to get out, she said. It allowed me to really think about things. It also allowed a sense of possibility, said Abad, who now lives in London. Glasgow was a city where everyone seemed to be able to make a living as an artist. It's that combination of distance and possibility that allowed me to keep going. Making the work that I make, I do need that distance from Manila to be able to impact things. 2018. He has exhibited at venues including the Moscow Museum of Modern Art. 2018. Parasite, Pom Pom. 2017. Center for Contemporary Art, Glasgow, 2016. And Foray Center for Contemporary Asian Art, Sydney, 2016. Is a newly commissioned body of work that draws from multiple histories of exile, resistance, and displacement from the 70s and single quote 80 seconds that draws Filipinos to California. Anchored within the context of wider tragedies during Ferdinand Marcos' dictatorship in the Philippines, 1970-1986. The exhibition reveals the underbelly of the socio-political mechanisms that allow authoritarianism to manifest today. Uncovers the tools that perpetuated a political fantasy, allowing the Marcoses to cling to their gilded power. Is an elegy for those whose efforts were muted by the absolute power that perpetuates empire, for painful personal histories and imminent collective futures. The residency at KADIST has been an opportunity to zoom out a bit and try to understand this Marcos history to American history, and how you can't really have one without the other, said Abad. 1981, August, the 10th to Abad's exhibition. I was really interested in how he occupied these very formative cultural moments in the United States, but he also fell into the depths of the telling of these histories, explained Abad. I wanted him to be a presence in the show not because my work had any relation to the narrative that he talked about or because I dealt with abstraction, but because I wanted to root this research on erasure, on empire, on narratives that fall into the cracks because they're too complex to tell. I wanted to root it in the Bay Area and I wanted to root it into the lives of Filipino American Bay Area artists. I always think of producing an exhibition as a kind of literary exercise, so this is a kind of quotation or a prologue that leads to my exhibition. Abad created 7 works exhibited in 2 rooms and on the display windows of the gallery. One room contains a constellation of 3 objects that speak about the marriage histories of the United States and the Philippines in the context of politics in the 70s and the 80s. 2019, which is a letter written by Nancy Reagan to Imelda Marcos etched onto Carrara marble. It's a letter that Nancy Reagan wrote to Imelda Marcos shortly after the Marcoses were indicted by the Manhattan court for fraud and racketeering, says Abad. I found it at the Reagan Library. Going through the different correspondences there, you realize that the Marcoses and the Reagans were very good friends. There was a geopolitical alliance that had to be maintained. What Abad found particularly interesting while doing research at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library is the idea of the past becoming the present and the future. The history folding into itself. Abad wanted to find a way to turn the correspondences that he found into something incontrovertible. Like this document becoming something more monumental than it is. This idea of engraving it into marble, from an archival to something more permanent. It's all taken from a single photograph and modeled in 3D Perion, and monumentalizing it as a way of looking for accountability, said Wadsworth Jones. At this time when so many givens are being called into question and so many facts are being stretched, left square bracket is right square bracket something solid, something you can't quite hold on to, like evidence. It's a sculpture that constantly shifts between monument and mausoleum. It doesn't commemorate a specific event, so to speak. It's a monument that resurrects so many histories. It's a monument to the Reagan and Marcos friendship. It's a monument to impunity. It's a monument to the struggle to retain money, says Abad. It's hard not to make work about history without fully embracing its fragility. There are things that are incontrovertible that you'd hope that there is enough of us that will commit to these undeniabilities. That was taken by Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Kim Cominic in Manila on February 25, 1986, the day the Marcoses fled the Philippines. One of the privileges of the residency is I've been able to meet all of these figures that figured in what I've been researching, says Abad. Meeting Kim was really poignant because I realized, while going through his negatives, that my memories of the revolution are actually rooted in his images. In the adjacent room hang 3 acrylic on canvas paintings based on propaganda designed for a series of publications in the 70s to promote Marcos' idea of a new society and justify his declaration of martial law. If the Reagan letter was about inscribing something to talk about history, I wanted left square bracket the right square bracket opposite reclaim these designs and reappropriating them, says Abad. Each painting is dedicated to an activist or an individual who devoted their lives to fighting Marcos' violent fictions. 2019 is dedicated to Abad's mother who died in 2017. I wanted to end on something which is new for me, and on a personal note, says Abad. The show shifts from something geopolitical to something really personal. 2019, a series comprised of 407 digital copies of images gathered from Valerian books in the Mission District that carries rare titles on American social movements and political memorabilia. This includes a caricature of Ferdinand Marcos with his various medals of questionable authenticity as supposedly the most decorated Filipino soldier of World War II, a fantasy that he had used to build his political reputation. I really like this idea of San Francisco as this repository of Philippine memory left square bracket and right square bracket history. A lot of people did end up here in the 70s and single quote 80 seconds as a result of their political allegiances and their political activism, says Abad. Most personal exhibition. It's a way of navigating his personal feelings about the political situation at the moment. It feels more heightened because it's viewed through a lens of loss. I lost my mom, and that was due largely to the stress of working in politics, so all of these themes are not theoretical for me. Family is, yes, a source of inspiration, but also, their agents through which I produce the work. These political narratives are painfully personal. And maybe this is why I had such an amazing time at KADIST, but I produced the saddest show. At KADIST. www.kadist.org/San-Francisco www.piabad.com. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.